Hi everyone, so now we are going to do the second challenge of Android application exploitation of Karachi. This was the second round, and this is the second challenge of LiteMine of the Android application exploitation series. I mean, it's really long, I'm tired of saying it again and again. So this is the APK. We are going to do a static analysis of it as first, right, before jumping to the dynamic one. Right, just take a quick look what's happening here. Maybe we won't need to analyze it dynamically, So let's see what happens when the application opens. We can see that this activity gets called, which is the main activity. Sorry. We are not going to go line by line, but just going to understand what is the functionality, what is actually happening here. So we can see that there are 3 buttons in the application: first, second, and third. And those 3 buttons are being called, whenever some activity happens on the login, capture, second, and third. And then we can see that first button, whenever that gets clicked, right, it's going to set a listener, and whenever it gets clicked, this inside, this block is going to exist. So this whole code over here, whenever the first button gets executed, is going to happen. So this method basically. And then when the second button gets clicked, this block is going to happen, right? We can see the set on click listener. And then when the third button of the application gets clicked, we are going to see this third one in action, right? So let's get started. Again, we are not going to go that much in depth, but this challenge is really easy. It can be solved in a minute or two, but we are going to understand what the application actually does, right? So you can see that there is a new class being called on this new database over here from, I think, this method, this activity, right? And then it checks if object database, all right, it calls a method does database exist, and I think this is the file name of the database which exists in the local directory. And we can take a look over here, does database exist. Here, this is the method. So it checks if that file exists, right? If that file doesn't exist, then it is calling this open method, and then this open method is going to get writable database, this database. I think it is going to maybe create a new database there. I think this is what it's going to do, and then it is just going to return right after that. So what we have to do in order to make this method work, right? So when you click here, you can see that it is simply going to return, right? It is not going to do anything. So we have to bypass this logic somehow. How we can do that? We just need to touch this file inside the databases directory. So that will make this condition false, and automatically we'll come down to here. So when we come down here, we can see that there is a write to file method which is being called from the main activity itself, which is down right here. So it's going to open flag1.txt file, and it is going to write the string data which is being passed to it, right? And then this string data, like if you take a look at it, if we try and basic before decode it, we know that it is not going to get decoded because it is AES encrypted. And how do we know that? If you just take a look at the database, you can see that below we have a decrypt function. And why did they add a decrypt function if it is not going to be used, right? So always look out for a hidden functionality that gives you an idea what is actually happening in the application. So we know that we have to first basic before decode this and AES decrypted, and we also have the IV and the secret key over here. This is pretty easy. If you want to see how can we do bypass the checks and how the application looks and everything, you can look at the solution of Lahore. I think Lahore also contained a challenge of the same type. I don't remember exactly the name. I'm going to link that below. So in that one, we also went through the code line by line and we bypassed these conditions, but I'm not going to do that. We're just going to solve this real fast, right? So first, I'm not sure why I can copy it. There we go. I'm going to use CyberChef here, since that makes our life really easy. You don't have to write Java code. In some cases you have to. Where's the guest profile? Here it is. I closed it by mistake. Control W was real quick. Yeah. So basic before decoded, we have the data here, and then I'm going to call AES decrypt on this data, and then we are going to use the key and cipher which we have in here. This is the IV. Remember to set the types here correctly. This is not hex, this is UTF-8, right? String. And then this one here as well isn't hex, it is UTF-8, right? And now we know that when this data gets decrypted, we it's good that I saw that it was going to mess our output. So we know that when we decode it, we get the data in raw format, right? So here input is going to be raw and the output is going to be raw as well. And we can see that it is again base 64 encoded, right? So I'm just going to use from base 64 over here, and there we go. We got the first flag of the challenge. And just like that, we are going to take a look at the second method, right? I'm going to tell you how to check this condition. So does database exist? So over here we are checking if it doesn't exist, and down here we are checking if it exists. So what is going to happen is that I think all we need to do is just touch this database, and then I think we're good to go. Does database exist? If not, it exists. If it doesn't exist, return. If it exists, it is going to pass. I just sure hope I understood this correctly. I think I did, yeah. So what is going to happen in here is it is going to create a table, I guess, probably create insert. Here it is. So these are the columns: user ID, name, and flag. And then in these columns, it is going to add these values which are being passed here in the method. So ID is going to be 5, and the name is going to be second, and the third thing is going to be the flag. So I'm just going to copy that, paste that in here. We have all the conditions satisfied, and there we go. We got the second flag as well. So first it base64 decoded that, then it AES decrypted that, and then again it base64 decoded. So there we go. We got the second flag. And for the third one, this is rather interesting, right? First thing it is going to do, it is going to query the database users DB, and then it is going to query the table, user table, which exists inside the DB, and it is checking if the count is equal to 0. So here you can see that this entry was created in the database, right? So this exists in the database if you are doing this dynamically, right? So what's going to happen is that this method over here is going to be false, and it will fall upon the else statement, and the application will exit. So what you have to do, if you are doing it dynamically, you just have to remove this entry from the table, right? Just I think you can use delete maybe to do that. I'm not sure if you can actually how to delete data. I'm not sure, right? So if you want to delete table or database, you can use delete. So I think it might be the same, something like that. So if you are doing dynamically, that will bypass this check, and then it is going to create this HTTP request. But in our case, again, we're doing everything statically here. We know that it is fetching the username and user password from the strings file, and then the URL from it as well. And then it is going to create an HTTP post request to that URL with this data. So let's take a look at the strings. You have those in here. Here's the URL. You can see that it is like plain, and then we have the username and the password, right? So we don't need to decrypt these. As you can see that the HTTP request itself is just setting that. I think it is obvious from this name enc.php that it is going to do everything for us. So just create a post request. If you want to create a curl request, add this as username, and then just make sure this is not the user password, right? The field here is user password, so do not just add this as the attribute in the post request. So that would in result fetch us the third flag of the challenge. So yeah, this was pretty easy, same as layer 2. So yep, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next one.